Underground and under lock and key in the dark garage of a Los Angeles law firm. For years, these boxes have been gathering dust.
You hit her with your fist.
Tonight, their contents revealed.
What'd you do to her?
I wrestled her.
A treasure trove from the case of the century. The most famous man ever charged with murder, football legend O.J. Simpson, accused of brutally slaughtering two people, his ex-wife Nicole Simpson and her friend Ron Goldman. Forced to testify.
Would you raise your right hand, please?
After his acquittal in criminal trial.
We do solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give in this deposition will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
The deposition tapes from his civil case.
Deposition of Orenthal James Simpson.
O.J. under oath and exposed.
Why don't you ask me?
I just did. Where were you?
Why don't you ask me?
His arrogance.
I just strutted in, making jokes, you know.
Jokes?
I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
At a deposition about a double murder?
Nothing was serious to him.
And his violent married life.
You had your fingers around her throat, correct?
I could have touched her neck, yes.
I mean, you could have touched her. This was a violent episode, wasn't it?
It was. Yes, it was.
What do you see when you look at those tapes?
He's a damn good actor.
O.J.'s best friend's grief.
And who do you recognize that to be?
Nicole.
Hey,
man, give me a break.
And Nicole's friend Kris Jenner's regrets.
The one thing she would tell all of us was, he's gonna kill me, and he's gonna get away with it. I will always feel guilty that I didn't pay more attention.
A father hell-bent on getting justice for his son.
What do you think people will think watching those tapes?
The real him is a violent, lying, narcissistic monster, and everybody should see them.
Can we take a break?
And tonight, you will. Good evening. 20 years ago next week, it became a searing American flashpoint. The verdict in the O.J. Simpson murder trial. That courtroom saga was broadcast all day, every day, to an audience of millions. But you never heard Simpson speak. He never testified. Tonight, you will see O.J. Simpson in an entirely different way. You will see him forced to answer questions about what happened the night his ex-wife and her friend were killed from VHS tapes waiting in that underground garage. You'll hear from everyone, from Kris Jenner to O.J.'s friends, and from those who swore to bring him to some kind of justice. Will what you hear tonight change the way you look at O.J. Simpson? Take a look and see.
Attention all units and stations. Attempt to locate 187 suspect.
June 17th, 1994.
Plate 3 Delta Hotel. Subject's last name is Simpson.
It's 7 p.m. on Friday night.
At this moment, a car chase is going on.
We now go to a special report.
I'm Peter Jennings at ABC News headquarters. Let's immediately go to a picture in Los Angeles. We're interrupting 2020.
And every single television network
we are looking at pictures of Al Cowling's cars
is fixated on a single image.
Down there on the ground is a white Ford Bronco.
Dozens of police cars are in pursuit.
In the number 3 lane at approximately 30 miles an hour.
An armada of news choppers broadcasting live to 95 million people.
There are about 15 California Highway Patrol cars.
In the back seat is O.J. Simpson, beloved sports hero and movie star, with a loaded gun pointed at his own head.
It was mesmerizing.
The people are stopped alongside the road.
You could not stop watching. O.J. Simpson is in a Bronco.
Driving slowly
with people on the sides of the road.
Waving and calling out his name.
It was crazy.
His friend, A.C. Cowlings, is behind the wheel.
This is A.C. I have O.J. in the car. He's still alive, but he got a gun to his head.
After a 2-hour chase, the Bronco pulls into Simpson's Brentwood mansion.
Here he is now. Here's the car pulling into the driveway.
Simpson is arrested and charged with murder. It was 5 days earlier when his ex-wife, Nicole Simpson, and her friend Ron Goldman were discovered murdered. Nicole's throat slashed. She was nearly decapitated outside her condominium. It was news that spawned a media frenzy.
The body of 34-year-old Nicole Brown Simpson, ex-wife of O.J. Simpson, was found after midnight.
Tanya Brown is Nicole's youngest sister.
All I remember is turning on the news that morning, and there was a white sheet over Nicole, and all I remember is my mom saying, "That's my kid."
I remember just kind of falling to the floor. I don't know if I screamed out loud. I felt like I was screaming. Everything started to spiral.
Kim Goldman's brother Ron had been stabbed more than 20 times. His father, Fred Goldman.
It was devastating. He was always a good kid. He was fun. He had a good sense of humor, always laughing.
He had a good heart.
He had a good heart.
O.J. Simpson was the prime suspect from
moment one
in this case.
As police gather evidence, things are looking bad for O.J. Simpson, and he knows it. He seeks refuge at his friend lawyer Robert Kardashian's house. Kardashian later told author and filmmaker Lawrence Schiller what happened in the hours before that infamous Bronco chase.
He was sitting there with the gun and his pictures of his kids and of Nicole. And then O.J. said, "I'm gonna kill myself in this room." And I said, "You can't." I said, "This is my daughter's bedroom."
He first wanted to kill himself in Kim Kardashian's bedroom.
Right, Kimmy's bedroom, yeah.
And Robert said, you can't kill yourself here. My little girl Kim sleeps here.
Sure.
I can't have my little girl in this bedroom, and every time I come in here, I'm gonna see your body.
Simpson would later explain in his deposition why he then left in the white Bronco.
You left the Kardashian residence in Mr. Cowling's Bronco, correct?
Correct.
And did you tell anyone that you were going?
No.
Why did you leave?
Because I wanted to go to Nicole's grave.
He says he wanted to kill himself at her final resting place. It is an image of Simpson that for the public that revered him seemed unfathomable. He was an American icon, his story the American dream. He grew up in the projects of San Francisco and became a record-setting NFL running back and Hall of Famer. And then a lovable hit on the silver screen. With his looks and his charm,
Here's a few tips on how to get out of an airport fast.
he became a master pitchman.
Go, dude, go!
He had endorsements, and he was very well loved by everyone who he ran into.
Kris Jenner is a ubiquitous television personality today, but in 1994, she is the ex-wife of Robert Kardashian and the mother of 4 young Kardashians who will eventually achieve their own modest measure of fame. She and Robert were close friends with O.J. Simpson.
O.J. was one of the groomsmen at my wedding.
Kris helped O.J. call the beautiful blonde waitress named Nicole Brown that he had met at a Beverly Hills restaurant.
Nicole was how old at the time?
18.
And you were how old?
I believe 28, 29 maybe.
29?
Yeah.
Were you married?
Yes.
But 2 years later, he was divorced, and in 1985, he and Nicole were married and had 2 children, Sydney and Justin.
We all bonded. There was great chemistry. It was great friendship, a great life.
Nicole's sister Tanya was just 7 years old when Nicole met O.J.
What were your memories of O.J.? I mean, you called him Uncle O.J.
The O.J. I knew, he was fun, laid back, kind, sweet. I never heard them fight.
But there were secrets behind the red carpet smiles. By 1992, they are divorced. And by 1995, the O.J. known for his charm was in a courtroom charged with murder.
There's Nicole, and there's Goldman.
The scene outside the courtroom got crazy. Every day, there were people hawking items to buy. There were baseball caps with the names of all the lawyers on them.
Seriously?
There was a Judge Ito Jello mold.
A Judge Ito Jello mold?
And there was screaming and yelling and...
O.J. did it!
Inside the courtroom, prosecutors try to prove that O.J. Simpson was a serial abuser, violently beating Nicole during their marriage of 7 years. Their evidence includes these photographs of a bruised and beaten Nicole, and there are the harrowing 911 calls she made asking for help.
911 emergency. Can you get someone over here now to 325 Gretna Green? He's back. Please. Well, okay, what does he look like? He's O.J. Simpson. I think you know his record. Could you just send somebody over here? He's going nuts. Just stay on the line. I don't want to stay on the line. He's going to beat the Wait a minute, wait.
Her voice pleading for somebody to come to her house, that was so shocking to me because I had never heard that before.
Lost in all the attention paid to the Simpsons' turbulent marriage is the other murder victim.
He was always referred to as the other victim, and that really drove me bananas. And I remember watching the television always yelling, his name is Ron, he's got a name.
He had a name and a job at the restaurant at which Nicole had dinner with her family the night of the murders. Ron was returning a pair of glasses that had been left behind to Nicole's house. His father believes he arrived just at the time Nicole was under attack.
He could have run
Right, but
away.
he didn't. It wouldn't have been who Ron was. He wouldn't have run away. He would have wanted to help.
The Goldmans are convinced the case against O.J. Simpson is a slam dunk. In addition to the history of domestic abuse, there is an avalanche of forensic evidence connecting Simpson to the crime scene. A suspicious cut on his left hand. His blood, his hair, clothing fibers, and DNA are all at the murder scene, along with a size 12 shoe print, O.J. size. And in his Bronco, blood consistent with Ron and Nicole's blood. And in his bedroom, a pair of socks with Nicole's blood.
And the results of the analysis of that blood confirms Orenthal James Simpson took her very life.
Every piece of evidence pointed to O.J. There was no identifiable other suspects except for O.J.
Orenthal James Simpson not guilty of the crime of murder.
Next, what you don't know about how O.J. beat the odds to become a free man.
Yes! Yes!
I couldn't believe it.
And later, O.J. under attack.
You see those bruises on her face?
No.
You don't see anything?
No. I mean, I see this, I think.
You don't think this picture reflects any bruising or injuries or marks on Nicole's face?
Stay with us.
2020 continues with the O.J. Simpson tapes. Once again, Elizabeth Vargas.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this is going to be a long trial, as you can
In what's been called the trial of the century, O.J. Simpson seemed to face an unsurmountable battle.
I've never seen so much evidence against someone in a case that's gone to trial as there was against O.J. Simpson, ever.
Enter the so-called Dream Team, Simpson's all-star defense.
That'll be interesting, I think.
Including Johnny Cochran, Robert Shapiro, F. Lee Bailey, Alan Dershowitz, and of course his most trusted ally, Robert Kardashian. They shift the focus to the Los Angeles Police Department. The strategy?
Mark Furman?
Accuse the police of framing Simpson, mishandling, even planting evidence.
Detective Furman, did you plant or manufacture any evidence in this case? Have you ever falsified a police report? Was the testimony that you gave truthful?
It is an argument that resonates with the mostly black jury, especially the explosive audio of lead detective Mark Furman spouting racist slurs like this.
First thing, anything out of a mouth for the first 5 or 6 sentences is a lie.
Mark Furman is a lying, perjuring, genocidal racist.
The defense sent the jurors' heads spinning.
The defense, in essence, put bad policemen, racist policemen, on trial.
They put the whole police department on trial.
Simpson's attorneys even tried to put his slain ex-wife's reputation on trial, portraying her as a party girl.
These ladies would go out 2, 3, 4 nights a week and stay out till 5 o'clock in the morning. They do whatever they would do.
Simpson did the same in his deposition.
I was told about them all doing drugs at a place called a Monkey Bar.
Mr. Darden?
But perhaps the defense's biggest win is the prosecution's biggest blunder. They ask him to try on the bloody glove found at the scene of the crime. Nearly everyone knows what happens next.
You have any problem putting the glove on his hand?
What were you thinking as you watched this spectacle?
I think the word spectacle is perfect. He had latex gloves on. He was trying on a glove that had been soaked in blood, and he would hold the glove, and he did this. It wasn't yanking at the glove, it was... So, of course, he couldn't get it on.
Author Larry Schiller says there may be another more cunning explanation, that Simpson had arthritis, swelling of the joints, and stopped taking his anti-inflammatory medicine a month before trying on the gloves.
Nobody knows whether it made his hands a little bigger or not.
That bloody glove becomes a rhyming rallying cry for the defense.
If it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
With those iconic words ringing in their ears, the jury makes its decision after nearly 9 months of testimony and not even 4 hours of deliberation.
On this shift, we'll take you right through the verdict.
The jury in the O.J. Simpson case has reached a verdict.
Mr. Simpson has now come back to the courtroom.
We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant, Orenthal James Simpson, not guilty of the crime of murder in violation of...
Tell me about that moment.
Shock, disbelief. How could they possibly heard all of that evidence and in a handful of hours said, not guilty?
Kim Goldman's sobs fill the courtroom. This is now an indelible image from that time.
Yeah, I'm sad for her. I remember that feeling.
What was the feeling?
Betrayed and just devastated. I just felt like we let my brother down.
Kris Jenner, Robert Kardashian's ex-wife, remembers watching his face as the verdict was announced.
I think he was shocked. He was definitely stunned. I mean, you could look at his face and see it. Known him my entire life. I know that, like, he was floored that that was the verdict.
Fooled the mindless mass.
For the nation, the reaction to the verdict is sharply divided along racial lines. You could see white Americans shocked and in disbelief, contrasted with the jubilation of black Americans celebrating the acquittal of O.J. Simpson.
I think a lot of African Americans were focusing less on the evidence against O.J. Simpson and more on the fact that they felt that this case exposed ongoing problems with policing. And as a result, they didn't want these police officers to win.
What was it like to see O.J. Simpson walk out of that courtroom a free man?
Disgusting.
And take a look at this video of an impromptu celebration at Simpson's house. A jubilant Simpson rejoicing at his acquittal. Here he is, hugging best friend and Bronco driver A.C. Cowling. He even mocks live television news reports.
Prosecution team, let the killers get away.
For Kim Goldman, the sight of O.J. Simpson as a free man is unbearable. One day, she is driving through a parking lot and stops when she sees him.
And I sat there and I revved the engine and I white-knuckled the steering wheel and I thought, oh my gosh, nobody's around. I could totally take him out.
But instead of vengeance, the Goldman family decides to seek justice again in, of all places, another courtroom. They file a wrongful death lawsuit against Simpson. In a surprise, they lay all their hopes on low-profile 42-year-old Daniel Petrocelli, a business attorney.
This was not your area of expertise, wrongful death.
I was not a criminal lawyer.
This press conference is his first time speaking to reporters ever.
We think that when all is said and done...
You describe having an anxiety attack.
A full-scale anxiety attack. I couldn't swallow. That's when I knew I was in over my head.
Before the news cameras, perhaps.
You do solemnly swear that the testimony...
But when the deposition cameras start rolling...
I hope you got it.
I do.
Petrocelli is in his natural habitat, locked on his target.
Do you recall saying that he would kill Nicole?
Finally, O.J. Simpson forced to answer the tough questions. The deposition tapes when we come back.
I'm sorry.
Once again, Elizabeth Vargas as 2020 continues.
In the months after his acquittal, O.J. Simpson had gone back to his life in the limelight, beaming at golf outings and autograph signings. But Fred and Kim Goldman are plotting their second chance at justice, a wrongful death lawsuit.
For the first time, he has to testify. In the criminal case, you can say, I am not going to testify. In a civil case, you don't have that right.
that was going to be the moment of truth, to put Simpson under oath and examine him.
To prepare for O.J.'s appearance on the stand, lawyer Dan Petrocelli will spend 11 days grilling him in a pre-trial deposition with a video camera recording every moment. They are in a tiny windowless conference room. Joining them across the table is Fred Goldman.
This was a subject of great discussion about his ability to sit through and be within 3 or 4 feet of O.J. Simpson in a conference room where there's no bailiff, there's no security guards.
Did you ever search him for a weapon?
No, I didn't search him. He had all of his trust in the legal process.
You do solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give in this
A process that resulted in 121 hours of deposition.
I do.
Of O.J. Simpson and other witnesses. Tonight, that video, long stored away in these boxes, is part of a stash of evidence from the civil case.
Well, these are the evidence boards.
Combed through by filmmakers to be featured next week in 2 documentaries on A&E and LMN.
Transcripts, exhibits.
Tens of thousands of pages of transcripts.
It includes pages of Nicole's diary.
It's a very shocking, horrific read, the abuse, and it actually starts the very first year they met.
O.J.'s golf bag.
Some size 12 golf shoes that still have the dirt in it from the last golf game.
And those tapes.
These are just some of the deposition tapes that were recorded on, as you can see, VHS.
VHS. Deposition of Orenthal James Simpson. I'm curious what the two of you thought when you first watched this.
It was an incredible moment.
Good morning, Mr. Simpson. My name is Daniel Petrocelli. I represent plaintiff Frederick Goldman in this lawsuit against you.
Well, when he first walked in, it was, you know, just a frivolous kind of attitude. I just strutted in, making jokes.
Jokes? At a deposition about a double murder?
Well, he never took any of it seriously.
I'm sorry.
He was in a big chair that could lean back, and he put his arms behind his head and leaned way back in the chair. He would say, no, no, yes, no. And a little while later, he put his head down on the table, and you could hear him mumbling his answers. No, maybe, yes. It was just another inconvenience.
For Dan Petrocelli, it was ammunition.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know why the blood on the console of the Bronco is consistent with a mixture of Ron Goldman's and Nicole's blood?
No.
Do you know why the blood on the socks in your bedroom matched Nicole's blood?
No.
Your mission during this deposition was to catch him up on every single inconsistency. Because if you can prove he's lying about all these small things, he could also be lying about the one big thing.
Exactly.
Ask me the question like they asked me, and I'll give you an answer.
Where were you between 10 and 11?
I don't know if they asked me that question. I was home.
Dan didn't take any crap from him. You know, this is not a place in which your ring, so to speak, is going to be kissed. We're here to get you.
If they did ask you, what did you say?
I don't recall if they asked me, so I don't know what I said. Why don't you ask me?
I just did. Where were you?
Why don't you ask me?
Dan Petrocelli spent days hammering at O.J.'s tumultuous relationship with Nicole, grilling him on the photographs of her bruised and battered face.
You caused scars on her face, didn't you?
That's incorrect.
And you cut her lip, didn't you?
That's incorrect.
You hit her with your fist and you caused her lip to split open. Is that right?
That's incorrect.
Do you think he'd ever been spoken to that way?
Oh, probably not. And chances are, if someone had, they probably got punched.
You see those bruises on her face?
No.
You don't see anything?
No. I mean, I see this, I think.
You don't think this picture reflects any bruising or injuries or marks on Nicole's face?
No, I don't.
What do you think this reflects?
I think it reflects doing a movie that we're doing, and we're doing makeup.
Really? That's makeup? She did that? Pretend like she's beat up? Really?
He said she was wearing makeup for a horror movie that they were.
He had so many explanations.
It was almost unfathomable, the things that would come out of his mouth.
What'd you do to her?
I wrestled her.
What does that mean?
That means I had my hands on her, and I was trying to force her out of my bedroom. We wrestled.
Eventually, Simpson admits to hurting Nicole, but won't say how.
Never struck anyone in their face, correct?
Correct.
And you never hurt your wife either, correct?
No, I hurt my wife, yes.
You never struck her with your hands, correct?
I never punched her, yes.
Did you ever strike her?
No.
Did you ever hurt her?
Yes.
Did you ever physically hurt her?
Yes.
Did you ever bruise her?
Yes.
Did you ever make her black and blue?
You really try repeatedly to pin him down on, did you hit Nicole? Did you punch Nicole? Did you shove Nicole?
I think any marks that's on her, I take full responsibility for. I don't know what else you want me to do. I take total responsibility.
Why?
For it. Because I shouldn't have handled the situation the way I did. All my life with Nicole, no matter what was going on, I handled it without being physical with her. And that time I got physical with her, and I'm ashamed of it. I wish it not had happened.
The only thing he will admit to is this sort of blanket, I'm responsible.
I was responsible for it.
But I didn't do it.
I'm not asking you about the moral or other responsibility. I'm asking for what happened, okay?
Yes.
You had your fingers around her throat, correct?
I could have touched her neck, yes.
What do you mean you could have touched her? This was a violent episode, wasn't it?
Well, yes, it was.
His mantra was, I take full responsibility, as though this, this was an apology made on some press tour or something. We're in a legal proceeding.
Rage is a fair description of your state of mind, correct?
No, it's not.
Not anger?
Anger,
Intense
yes.
anger?
Anger.
Angry enough to hit her?
That's enough. I'm not going to let you just continue to batter him the rest of the time.
Batter him?
That's right.
That's an appropriate word, Mr. Baker.
One of the witnesses also deposed is A.C. Cowlings, O.J. Simpson's best friend and the driver of that white Bronco. He is asked about a time he took Nicole to the hospital for injuries she sustained from O.J.
It was a rather substantial...
It said to her, you're going to have to tell people what really happened. And he breaks down crying in the middle of deposition.
Do you think he feels or felt guilty?
Of course.
Next, the deposition heats up.
Can we take a break?
Yeah, sure.
The killer wore size 12 Bruno Magli shoes. Did O.J. Simpson?
I would have never worn those ugly-ass shoes.
An eye-popping photograph.
It appears to me, yes.
The picture that doesn't lie. When we come back.
The O.J. Simpson tapes continues on 2020. Here again, Elizabeth Vargas.
They are the questions everyone wanted to ask and the answers everyone wanted to hear. O.J. Simpson in these deposition tapes being grilled by attorney Daniel Petruccelli about his role in the murders of Nicole Simpson and her friend Ron Goldman. Petruccelli hones in on the physical evidence, like this cut pictured on Simpson's hand after the murders.
Did you remember cutting your finger?
I remember bleeding.
I mean, who doesn't have an idea how you have an enormous gash on your finger that requires gauze and a big bandage? I mean,
we're not talking about a little paper cut.
Right. Did you cut it on one of the broken pieces of glass?
Yeah.
On what piece?
Can we take a break?
Yeah, sure.
O.J. finally says, I need a break. What was that like to watch? Was it gratifying? He looked a little rattled.
Yeah, it was absolutely gratifying.
But if Simpson was rattled then, there was more to come. The killer of Nicole Brown and Ron Goldman left a key piece of evidence at the scene of the crime, a shoe print stamped in the victim's blood.
It was a size 12 shoe.
Simpson size.
And the brand, Bruno Magli. Only 299 pairs of that shoe in that size ever sold in the United States.
It's not a common shoe.
No.
Prosecutors in the criminal trial were never able to prove that Simpson owned those Bruno Magli shoes. Petruccelli questions him about it during the deposition.
Did you ever buy shoes that you knew were Bruno Magli shoes?
No, because I know if Bruno Magli makes shoes that look like the shoes they had in court that's involved in this case, I would have never worn those ugly-ass shoes.
You thought those were ugly-ass shoes?
Yes.
Why were they ugly-ass shoes?
Because in my mind they were.
What about them was ugly, Mr. Simpson?
The look of them, the style of them.
What about the style?
I don't know, they were ugly to me. Aesthetically, I felt that they were ugly, and I guess beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and to me they were ugly shoes.
But then, months later, a photograph emerges, first in the National Enquirer. O.J. Simpson wearing Bruno Mali's shoes at a football game 9 months before the murders. Petruccelli brings Simpson back for another round of questions. Watch O.J.'s reaction.
And that is a picture of you looking at Exhibit 1, correct?
It appears to be me, yes.
Okay. And the jacket you're wearing, could you describe it?
No.
Do you remember owning that jacket?
No.
Remember wearing that jacket?
No.
And what about the shirt?
Looks like a white shirt.
Okay. Looking at the close-up of the shoes, do you believe that those were shoes that you owned at that time?
No.
Those ugly-ass shoes I would never own. There you are.
Wearing the shoes.
Mm-hmm. Really? They're not yours. Someone put it on your feet and you didn't know it.
And his story was, yeah, that's me in the picture, but those are not my shoes.
Did he say that he was wearing somebody else's shoes?
No, he says, I don't remember what shoes I had on that day, but I didn't have those shoes on because he knew that those were the killer shoes.
The 11 days of deposition have prepared Petruccelli for the main event, the trial, putting Simpson on the stand. Petruccelli knows he has him where he wants him.
I was ready. I knew the case inside out.
There are no cameras in the courtroom. The world does not see the once confident Simpson on the hot seat and shaken.
Within the first half hour or so, he was hyperventilating.
Simpson was hyperventilating?
Yeah, these sort of bursts of air that were coming out as we were questioning him very hard about his violence towards Nicole.
And by then, 30 more photographs of Simpson wearing those shoes are entered into evidence.
There he is, picture after picture after picture after picture of O.J. Simpson wearing those ugly-ass shoes.
Pretty damning.
It was it.
But perhaps the most powerful testimony is not from O.J. Simpson, but from Fred Goldman.
One of the other things that you did in this trial was to put Fred Goldman on the stand, to bring the victim who, for so many, was an afterthought to life.
We put up some film footage. And Fred and Ron are singing and on the stage, and it was heartbreaking. And I think I had tears streaming down my eyes, and so did all the jurors.
After 41 days of testimony, there is a verdict, and it is unanimous. It is broadcast at the same time as President Clinton's State of the Union address. It is the second time a jury will rule on O.J. Simpson, but this time there's a different outcome. Simpson is found responsible for killing Nicole Simpson and Ron Goldman. Their families are awarded $33.5 million in damages.
Today's 2.5 years, a little over 2.5 years, and we finally have justice for Ron and Nicole.
Is it justice?
Not the justice I would like, but it's a way of getting some justice.
For Kim, this time there are smiles instead of sobs.
We did this for Ron. And then the killer got up and walked out the courtroom. Walked right past me, right past all the media, right into the crowds, waving, and went off to Ben and Jerry's to get ice cream.
Next, Kim and Fred would never imagine that their victory in civil court would one day put O.J. Simpson in prison.
People have always said to us, you know, karma will get him in the end.
You wrote him a card in prison. What did it say?
Stay with us.
So now that you've seen his face and watched him questioned, what piece of evidence do you think was the most powerful? We want to hear what you think. Weigh in on Facebook or Twitter. Use the hashtag ABC2020. And the revelations aren't over. We'll be right back.
Once again on 2020, Elizabeth Vargas and the O.J. Simpson tapes.
It is Las Vegas, 2007, and a run-of-the-mill robbery takes place at this casino. One of the suspects arrested, Orenthal James Simpson.
O.J. Simpson is under arrest in Las Vegas
in connection with an alleged armed robbery.
I can only imagine what you and your dad must have thought when O.J. Simpson was arrested for robbery.
Oh my God, we giggled and we laughed so hard.
You did?
Who would have thunk? You can't write a better story.
Yeah, we were just robbed at gunpoint by O.J. Simpson. Can you send police here, please?
This is surveillance video of Simpson and a group of his friends. They broke into a hotel room to steal memorabilia that Simpson claimed belonged to him and that Simpson hoped to sell for cash. Cash that Simpson could keep hidden from the Goldmans.
Now you can steal my and sell it. Don't let nobody out here. You mother I can steal it.
Kim and her father travel to Las Vegas. At long last, they can see their enemy in shackles.
I thought I was confronting friends and retrieving my property. I didn't mean to steal anything from anybody, and I didn't know I was doing anything illegal.
To see him stand before the judge and plead and to look kind of just disheveled. How had he changed? He looked broken.
So I'm sorry. I'm sorry for all of it.
13 years to the day after his famous acquittal of murder, a 61-year-old Simpson was found guilty of robbery and kidnapping.
Guilty. Count 2, conspiracy to commit kidnapping. Guilty.
He is sentenced to up to 33 years in prison.
Count 4.
Judge says Simpson's motive was clear.
You didn't want all of those items to fall into the hands of the Goldmans.
The Goldmans say they were never after money. They simply wanted punishment.
Our effort of constantly going after him maybe pushed him even only this much into committing armed robbery.
This much landing him in prison.
Ain't that wonderful?
Fred Goldman and the verdict you helped win have haunted O.J. Simpson.
Justice delayed, but not denied.
People have always said to us, you know, karma will get him in the end.
You wrote him a card in prison. What did it say?
Welcome to your new digs. Signed, the Goldman family.
O.J. Simpson is now a pariah. The throngs of supporters he had 20 years ago have vanished. But what has not changed is the tension between police and the African-American community. Tension that may have led a mostly black jury to acquit Simpson of murder.
Protest the police shooting that killed 18-year-old Michael Brown.
Cities today still convulse with outrage over alleged police misconduct. For the loved ones of Ron and Nicole, the 20 years have led them to find purpose in their loss. Nicole Brown's sister Tanya has dedicated herself to helping victims of domestic violence.
If I can save one person, I'm going to do it. Because it did not need to happen.
Kris Jenner agrees. She says friends need to intervene when they see warning signs.
I will always feel guilty that I didn't pay more attention and didn't speak up when I thought anything was wrong, or ask her more, do you want to talk about it?
Jenner's ex-husband, Robert Kardashian, distanced himself from O.J. after he was acquitted. Kardashian died of cancer in 2003. On his deathbed, he would not speak to O.J.
O.J. did try to reach out and call him, but Robert didn't take the call.
As for the Goldmans, Kim has written a new book called Media Circus about families dealing with public grief.
Hey, baby.
Today, she's raising a 12-year-old son named Sam.
His middle name is
Ronald.
named after his uncle. It's very nice how you've kept Ron alive on your wall of photos here. Do you like these pictures of your uncle up here?
Yeah.
What do you think of him?
He's cool.
I hesitate to even ask this question, but after 2 decades, does it get any easier?
No. There isn't a day that goes by that I don't think about my son. I was looking at a picture this morning of Ron holding a baseball bat, and it occurred to me that that's the Ron I will forever know. I will not know him older.
It is the same photograph that hangs in Sam Ronald Goldman's bedroom.
Oh, yeah.
The last photo of his uncle ever taken at a baseball game on the very day he was murdered.
Why do you keep that in your room?
Because it's like a reminder.
And as for O.J. Simpson, Kim has nothing she wants to say.
I wouldn't waste my words on him. The fact that I can still stand strong and live my life with purpose is the message. He didn't get me. He didn't take me too. He didn't get the best of me.
An ABC News Washington Post poll released just today shows that though our racial divide over policing hasn't changed, time has changed the country's view of Simpson's verdict. 20 years ago, only 62% thought he was the killer. Now, 3/4 of Americans, for the first time including a majority of African Americans, think he probably is guilty. We want to point out that the filmmakers you met tonight will air much more of those deposition tapes in The Secret Tapes of the O.J. Case, The Untold Story, next Wednesday on LMN, and in O.J. Speaks, The Hidden Tapes, Thursday on A&E. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'm Elizabeth Vargas. For David and all of us here at 2020 and ABC News, have a great weekend.